This is YNN. Lights, Camera, Jackson.
Well, Clark Kent and Lois Lane are back on the big screen where they belong with a new twist on a classic superhero tale. And here with this take on Man of Steel, our very own Lights, Camera, Jackson.
Good to see you.
Same
Man of
here.
Steel, Zack Snyder, the director of 300 and Watchmen. It's his Superman origin story, or I should say, his long, overly action-packed Superman origin story. We begin where else but on the planet Krypton. Russell Crowe's Jor-El and his wife decide to send off their new naturally born son named Kal-El to Earth because their planet is about to self-destruct. The evil General Zod vows that someday he will track down Kal-El and the all-important codex that he possesses. Later, as a boy on Earth, Kal-El, now named Clark Kent, is confused as to why he has superpowers. His guardian father, played nicely by Kevin Costner, explains by showing Clark the spaceship that brought him to Earth. Once he's old enough, Clark leaves home and wanders around the country doing odd jobs and trying to avoid situations in which he has to use his strength and super abilities. And he still has many questions. Some of them are answered when he discovers an even larger spacecraft trapped in the ice. A vision of Jor-El appears and explains a lot more to Clark and to us. Meantime, Daily Planet reporter Lois Lane, played by Amy Adams, is also investigating the strange object frozen in the ice. Here's where she and Kal-El/Clark/Superman meet for the first time. Of course, Miss Lane wants to know more about this mysterious man, so, like any good reporter, she puts the pieces together, and soon she becomes an ally of Superman as he tries to defeat Zod, who's come to Earth to wipe it out and rebuild Krypton in its place.
All right, Jackson, even though this is a reimagining of the Superman story, it seems like most of the basic elements are in place, right?
Right. There are some slight twists to the classic comic book saga, but Snyder lays it out pretty straightforward, and he does a nice job of pulling us in with the end of Krypton sequence at the beginning. The rest of the first half, pretty talky, but this is the most effective part of the film for me, including the flashbacks. I'm not usually a fan of multiple flashbacks, but they provide a lot of character depth.
Okay, but of course, any superhero film, especially one this big, it's going to live or die on the action.
And unfortunately, it's the action that ruins Man of Steel. The second half is basically filled with clashes, crashes, explosions, and battles. I bet we get more shattered glass here in this film than any other film in history. Snyder seems pretty content with providing as much destruction as possible, pretty oblivious to the fact that each of these scenes go on way too long, and by the end they get pretty ridiculous. And even a few of the non-fighting scenes are unimpressive. All of Superman's flying sequences don't give you the wow factor at all.
Disappointing. All right. Henry Cavill, he plays Superman. That's a British actor. He's relatively unknown here in the U.S. Obviously, this is a breakout role for him, and he's supported by an all-star cast. How does everybody play out their roles?
I like Cavill and Adams, but we don't get enough time to care about them or their relationship. Michael Shannon, way over the top as General Zod, but he's playing a comic book villain, so I guess it goes with the territory. The best performances for me come from Diane Lane and Kevin Costner as Clark's human parents. You've also got Lawrence Fishburne as Daily Planet editor Perry White. Kind of wasted. He might get a bigger role in the inevitable sequel.
No surprise there with those three big actors. Okay, Superman is an iconic character loved by kids of all ages, even adults. Who is the Man of Steel appropriate for?
It's rated PG-13 for all the action, violence, and some language. It's okay for kids 12 and up, but I can't recommend it for anyone. Director Christopher Nolan was able to make his version of the Batman story, the Dark Knight trilogy, dark and yet very entertaining. He co-wrote and is a producer on this film, and he definitely helped to make it dark, but there's no entertainment value for Man of Steel whatsoever.
All right, Jackson, what's the grade?
On the official LCJ report card, Man of Steel gets a C-, a super letdown. You know, Iron Man, the Iron Man movies and the Avengers, they were so much fun. This, not fun at all.
Oh, faster than a speeding bullet, but can't make the grade.
Yeah.
All right, Jackson, what are we going to look at next week?
Next week, two big releases. My most anticipated summer 2013 movie release, Pixar's first prequel, Monsters University, and Brad Pitt's zombie meltdown, World War Z.
A lot of people looking forward to both of those movies. Jackson, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
You can catch Jackson's reviews every Saturday right here on YNN, and the rest of the time you can follow him on his website. That's lights-camera-jackson.com.